We did just learn that legendary actor and director Robert Redford has passed away. He was 89 years old. On the morning of September 16th, the world was left in shock by the passing of Robert Redford, a cinematic icon and an immortal face of Hollywood. In his final moments, Robert Redford endured a period of profound physical and mental exhaustion. He struggled with a frail breath and a series of serious health issues. According to his family, he exhibited strange behaviors as if he sensed his impending death. Most heartbreakingly, Redford broke down in tears while reliving a pain he had carried his entire life. So what were Robert Redford's final words that so deeply touched the public? And what last wishes did he fulfill before he passed? Music. The film legend and founder of the Sundance Institute, Robert Redford, passed away at his home in the Utah Mountain Tones on Tuesday morning at the age of 89. His representative, Cindy Burr, stated that he died peacefully in his sleep of natural causes. The news sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Movie theaters collectively paid tribute to the screen legend on social media. Millions of fans expressed their profound grief. Hashtags like "We've lost a legend" became widespread. Many fondly remembered his charming smile and the way we were, or shared posters of the iconic Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, acknowledging that Redford had inspired their love for cinema. However, amidst the public outpouring of grief, the Redford family chose to keep the details of his death private. This led to a burning question. What did Robert Redford's final moments hide that the public has never known? According to a reporter close to the family, Robert Redford had several emotional moments before he passed. His final days were like a somber film. He was almost constantly confined to bed. His breathing labored, his body was gaunt, and his face appeared haggarded. His family recounted how he would sometimes drift off his hands, trembling in the air, as if trying to grasp something. When his children asked him what he was doing, he didn't answer, and often just stared into space. Close friends revealed that Redford had repeatedly refused media appearances in his last months, not wanting the public to remember him in a weakened state. His mountain log home in Utah, once filled with the sounds of laughter and music from parties, was now silent, saved for the faint hum of a breathing machine and encroaching darkness. In his room, though the walls were adorned with photos from classic films like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Ordinary People, Redford had asked for the curtains to be drawn to cover them. On his final night, an unexpected storm hit Utah. Thunder rumbled through the valley, and a flash of lightning illuminated his pale face. Yet his eyes held a flicker of defiance. Suddenly, he burst into tears. His breath was weak, but each tear that fell caused the family to cry with him. He recalled the tragedies that had haunted him. The sudden death of his firstborn son, who lived for only a few months before succumbing to SIDS, and the loss of his second son in another painful event. Trembling, Redford reached for the phone beside his bed and dialed his wife, Sybil Saggers. His choked voice came through the receiver. "I've kept a secret my whole life. I don't know if you can forgive me." His words trailed off, leaving everyone present stunned. What was the secret? No one knew, but it was clear that his wife was also crying as she listened. The call ended. Redford let go of the phone and his eyes slowly closed. His breathing grew shallow and then faded into absolute silence. Outside the window, the Utah rain continued to fall, as if weeping for a legend's passing. Those closest to him believed his death was no surprise. For weeks, he had been displaying strange signs as if sensing his end was near. Redford's premonition of death. In his final weeks, Robert Redford's actions were perplexing. He spent most of his time alone in his mountain cabin or quietly attended morning services at a local church. His family said that after each service, he would sit for a long time in the back pew, eyes half closed, his hand on a Bible, often talking to the priest. He confided that he was frequently dreaming of his late friend, Paul Newman. His daughter once tearfully recounted seeing her father look up at the sky and cry, saying, "Paul Newman, I'm coming to join you." Many also noticed a strange shift in his behavior. Redford unexpectedly called old friends and longtime colleagues. One of them later said they were surprised, as Redford had never been one to be overly emotional. But his calls were filled with a rare and touching sincerity. On his desk, several scrawled notes were found believed to be his final wishes. They included advice for his children, a few lines on his appreciation for cinema, and a poignant, simple sentence: "Don't remember me for my roles." But behind his stoic exterior, Redford was enduring a far more brutal reality. A physical decline rooted in the illnesses he faced. Physical decline before death. Music. In 2015, Robert Redford was forced to confront an unexpected enemy, skin cancer. The illness was a direct result of his prolonged exposure to the sun while on set and in nature. The surgery was successful, but it served as a stark reminder that nature, which he had spent his life protecting, could also deeply wound him. Just 4 years later, in 2019, he underwent another surgery. This time it wasn't for cancer, but to replace a knee joint worn down by decades of filming, horseback riding, and hiking. The surgery offered hope, but the reality was far more brutal. The incision never fully healed, leaving him with a permanent limp that was evident on the red carpet. The true decline began in 2018 when he was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. This condition, common among long-term smokers, became a relentless sentence for Redford. For 7 years, he lived with an oxygen machine at home, and his nebulizer became a daily companion. Bouts of breathlessness came without warning, sometimes triggered by a quick step or a long conversation. He was hospitalized multiple times, his body so frail that family members had to take turns watching over him. The cost of his treatment was estimated to exceed $1.2 million, but he paid a far greater price: his freedom to travel and see the world. As if COPD wasn't enough, Redford's heart was also scarred. He suffered at least 3 minor heart attacks between 2021 and 2024. The sudden chest pains caused him to collapse silently on several occasions. Doctors had recommended a stent, but Redford adamantly refused, not wanting his body to be dependent on more surgery. He chose to endure, relying on medication and physical therapy. From late 2023, his body's decline accelerated. In just over a year, he lost nearly 15 kilos, or his muscles atrophied, and the legs that once strode proudly on the red carpet now trembled so much that he needed a nurse to assist him. By early 2025, he was almost entirely confined to a wheelchair at home. His Utah mountain cabin, once echoing with the laughter of friends and colleagues, now resonated with the sounds of medical equipment, the footsteps of nurses, and Redford's own gasping breaths. The medical costs for this period, including nurses, physical therapy, and at-home care, reached $2.5 million. But what pained his loved ones wasn't the number, but the sight of a gaunt Redford sitting motionless in his wheelchair, with only his eyes showing a spark of life when he spoke of cinema and nature. The last time the public saw him was at the 2024 Sundance Film Festival. He appeared slowly, his steps unsteady, forcing a smile. The entire auditorium gave him a standing ovation, unaware that it would be his final public appearance. But the tragedy of his final years was just the last chapter of a film where from the very beginning he had repeatedly flirted with the boundary between life and death. In fact, throughout his life, Redford had faced death more than once. Redford faced death more than once throughout his almost 9 decades of life. Robert Redford faced death directly on multiple occasions. He was a man who seemed to walk a tightrope between life and death, and each escape made him live more intensely, pouring his heart into cinema and nature. In the 1950s, as a wild young man, Redford was often consumed by alcohol. Once he plunged into the sea in Mexico while drunk and nearly drowned. His friends pulled him out, his face blue, his eyes vacant. A man should delay, and Hollywood might never have known the name Robert Redford. In 1970, while filming a horseback riding scene, Redford was thrown from his horse. The sickening sound of breaking bones terrified the crew, who feared he would never get up. But for Redford, it was just a cut of the trade, and he returned to the set just a few months later, carrying a new scar and another challenge to fate. Even during his hiking and mountaineering trips, he once got lost in a snowstorm, and his body temperature dropped to a dangerous level. A friend recalled, "We thought Bob was going to freeze to death on the mountain, but he just laughed and said, 'If this is the end, at least I'll die in a place I love.'" These near-death experiences forged a fierce and indomitable Redford. He poured every one of his life experiences and brushes with death into his films. It was from these experiences that he chose to champion nature conservation as a way of giving back to life. It was through these experiences that he left the world not only with unforgettable roles, but also a spiritual legacy that commands respect. Music: Robert Redford's legacy. Robert Redford, a name that has become a timeless symbol of American cinema, closed his nearly 9-decade journey with a quiet but poignant end. He was more than just a star. He was a chapter in Hollywood history from